There are rivalries, but I don't think she has anything to do with me. I mean, my whole thing is singing, writing
She's an
songs.
actress.
Yeah, and I've been doing this, my whole life.
This didn't make any sense to her. How did a melody that she had locked down over the summer, last summer, suddenly appear on Jennifer Lopez's album? This was something that really bothered her.
What if Mariah Carey didn't just fade from the spotlight? What if she was pushed? Not by a lack of talent, not by time, but by the very artists she once inspired. For years, fans whispered that the music industry didn't just move on. It reshaped the narrative to edge out the woman who once defined it. And at the center of this swirling storm, two names: Beyoncé and Jennifer Lopez. Now, this isn't about petty drama or diva feuds. It's about power, timing, and an industry that knows how to redirect the spotlight. Some believe Beyoncé studied Mariah to rise, then quietly stepped away when her own legend began to take shape. Others say J.Lo's success came with assistance from behind the scenes, assistance that may have come at Mariah's expense. It's not just rumors anymore. There are timelines, interviews, buried credits, and receipts that tell a different story than the one we've been sold. So if you think this is just celebrity gossip, think again. Because what really happened to Mariah Carey might be one of the most quietly orchestrated moves in pop music history. But to understand how deep this goes, we have to rewind to when Mariah ruled everything.
Heard Beyonce Drunk in Love?
I don't know that. I love Beyonce, but I haven't.
Mariah just flew in from her own planet, I'm telling you. This is Mariah's.
My own planet?
Yes.
I did.
Yes, absolutely.
And I don't.
Before the whispers, before the drama, before the glitter turned into chaos, there was only Mariah. In the 90s, she wasn't just a star, she was the blueprint. While other pop girls were being molded by managers and producers, Mariah was writing her own lyrics, crafting her sound, and calling the shots in a male-dominated industry that wasn't exactly known for letting women, especially biracial women, have control. She didn't just sing, she soared. Those whistle notes? Untouchable. Her range? Legendary. From R&B to pop to gospel, she blended genres like nobody else and racked up hit after hit while barely blinking. But what made her different wasn't just the vocals. It was the fact that she was unapologetically in charge. Glamorous, of course, but never out of her depth. And while she was doing all this, young artists were watching. One of them was a teenage girl from Houston, quietly studying every run, every note, every move Mariah made on stage. That girl's name, Beyoncé.
Mariah Carey's voice comes from God. You can hear the gospel in her voice. It's very nice to see her in the church. The whole message in the video was just Vision of Love was one of the first songs I heard when I was a kid, where I heard all of these riffs. And I was like, how does she do that? In this little short amount of times, the amount of notes she could squeeze in that one little bar, 2 bars, was fascinating to me. And that's kind of when I started trying it. And it's something that I love to do in my music, but she completely inspired.
Long before Beyoncé was queen, she was a fan, and not a quiet one. She called Vision of Love the song that lit the fire. Mariah's voice felt like something divine, like gospel in motion. You can still find those old clips. Young Bey, starry-eyed, talking about how Mariah inspired her to sing, how those impossibly quick vocal runs were her blueprint. It wasn't just admiration, it was study, dedication. But then, something shifted. As Beyoncé's solo career exploded, the open praise for Mariah vanished. No more interviews filled with wide-eyed respect. No more shout-outs. It was like the influence that once lit the fuse suddenly didn't fit the new narrative. And fans started noticing. Had Beyoncé outgrown her idol, or decided it was time to move past her? Because while Mariah's talent is cemented in history, she's rarely given the critical respect of a Prince or an MJ. Meanwhile, Beyoncé was building that kind of legacy brick by brick. And maybe, just maybe, there wasn't room for the woman she once looked up to.
There are rivalries, but I don't think she has anything to do with me. I mean, my whole thing is singing, writing
She's
songs.
an actress.
Yeah, and I've been doing this, my whole life. Singing is first and foremost. It's a God-given talent that I'm grateful for. Her thing is something that...
Here's the part no one wants to admit. Talent alone doesn't rule the industry. Power does. Relationships do. Playing the game does. And while Mariah was busy fighting for her creative freedom, Beyoncé was mastering the strategy. By the time she went solo, she wasn't just an artist. She was an enterprise. Aligning with Roc Nation, marrying Jay-Z, curating her image with precision, every move was intentional, every connection sharpened like a tool. Meanwhile, Mariah was known for being fiercely independent, headstrong, and completely unwilling to be molded. That made her powerful and hard to control. Executives don't always love when artists make their own rules. And slowly, those same doors that once opened for Mariah began to close. Not because her voice faded, but because the industry was shifting its loyalty. People started whispering that as Beyoncé's brand expanded, Mariah's access narrowed. And not by coincidence. Some say it was the quiet transfer of spotlight, one queen rising while the other was gently moved out of frame. But if Beyoncé's rise was a slow, strategic climb, J.Lo's story was something way more abrupt.
How did that J.Lo record actually happen? You wrote the song for yourself, or you wrote it for J.Lo?
I wrote it for J.Lo.
If Beyoncé's shift was subtle, J.Lo's ascent felt like a takeover. Let's go back to the early 2000s, when Mariah was preparing a major comeback with the Glitter soundtrack. Say what you want about the movie, but the music? It was meant to be a moment. Mariah had locked down a rare sample, Firecracker by Yellow Magic Orchestra, for her lead single, Loverboy. It was going to define the sound of that era. But out of nowhere, that exact same sample popped up on a Jennifer Lopez track, before Mariah's song was even released. That wasn't just bad luck. It was strategic redirection. The common link? Tommy Mottola, Mariah's ex-husband and then executive at Sony Music. The same man Mariah had been trying to escape, both personally and professionally. According to Mariah, Tommy wasn't just bitter, he was blocking her. The whispers say he took the sample Mariah secured and handed it to J.Lo, then postponed Mariah's version. The goal wasn't just to delay her, it was to neutralize her comeback. And just like that, J.Lo got the track, the airplay, and the spotlight. That wasn't a coincidence. That was deliberate. But it didn't stop with one sample. Let's talk about I'm Real. On the surface, it was a chart-topping anthem from J.Lo's second album. But behind the scenes, that track was originally lined up for Ashanti. Not only did she write it, but her vocals were still on the final version. And it wasn't a one-time thing. Ain't it funny? Same deal. Ashanti wrote the lyrics, recorded the chorus, added her signature ad-libs, and then, just like that, J.Lo's name ended up on the release. These weren't just creative overlaps. They were examples of artists with industry momentum being positioned for visibility while others stayed behind the scenes. Irv Gotti and Fat Joe even admitted that multiple songs were initially planned for Ashanti, until execs decided J.Lo would bring more commercial appeal. Even more wild, some of those tracks were reportedly first connected to Mariah. From Mariah to Ashanti to J.Lo, it wasn't a coincidence. It was an industry pattern. And whether J.Lo was aware or just following direction, the truth is, she benefited every single time. Mariah Carey may be polite, but she's never been passive. That legendary I don't know her moment, it wasn't a random shade, it was controlled commentary. When asked about Jennifer Lopez in an interview, Mariah smiled and delivered the now iconic line with precision. But that wasn't the only time she made her stance clear. In a 2002 sit-down with Larry King, when asked about a rivalry, she said, "There's no competition if the other person can't sing." That was cold, calculated, and sharp. And many believed she had a point. J.Lo's vocal ability had been questioned for years, especially with reports that other singers were contributing to her most iconic tracks. Mariah knew the politics. In her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, she outlined how Tommy Mottola used his position to stall her progress, redirect creative ideas, and boost other artists. And while Mariah never pointed fingers outright, her tone made things clear. She wasn't bitter. She was surviving an industry that didn't know what to do with a woman who played by her own rules. And now, the silence might be over. Whispers are getting louder. Mariah might be planning a second memoir, a documentary, or both. This time, she may be ready to name names. Sources say she's been watching closely, collecting details, and waiting for the right moment. This isn't about dragging anyone, it's about reclaiming the truth. Because for decades, the glitter era has been mocked. But what if it was never a failure? What if it was quietly undermined from within? From diverted samples to redirected credits, to industry relationships reshaping careers, there's a lot more to the story. If Mariah speaks freely, it could shift the entire pop music narrative. And some legacies may have to be re-examined in the process. Mariah Carey's voice defined an era, but her legacy? That's still unfolding. As Beyoncé became a cultural architect and J.Lo stayed a mainstay on global stages, The woman who once inspired them both was slowly pushed out of frame. But if you look closer, the patterns are clear. Borrowed inspiration, redirected material, strategic silence. It paints a picture of an artist not forgotten, but repositioned. Maybe Mariah never truly left. Maybe she was written out of a story she helped write. But now, that story's coming back. If this story made you rethink everything you thought you knew about Mariah, Beyoncé, and J.Lo, don't scroll just yet. Hit that like button if you believe artists deserve their credit. Subscribe for more untold music industry stories they don't want you to hear. And drop a comment below. Do you think Mariah was erased on purpose, or was it just timing? Your voice matters. And trust me, we're just getting started.